Season 5, Episode 65 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Litzkin, the recently trimmed Jonathan Litzkin.
Yeah.
Jonathan, how are you?
I am doing wonderful, Sam. Not a night of close games, but
No, the
entertaining
entire
night.
9 o'clock window
It was entertaining.
The entire 9 o'clock window was just blowout.
Good storyline night.
We have plenty of those to talk about, and we've got Joey Bonadonna joining us to talk about the Wisconsin Badgers taking down Illinois at the Kohl Center. Joey, you were there. What was the vibe in the building like for this one?
Yeah, I was calling the game for student radio, so we were there pretty early, and the student section was almost full. The first level was full about an hour before tip-off, so you got the sense that it was going to be a good atmosphere from the student section standpoint. And you kind of get to this point in the year, and you kind of just hope that that's going to be the case. Obviously, 2 years ago, not a lot to root for this time of year, and then last year, obviously, in the mid of a big slump in February. This team's different. The February stretch has been pretty awesome, and I kind of myself, I had my doubts going into this February slate. It was going to be some tough games when we looked at the start of the new year, and particularly this Purdue, Illinois, Oregon stretch. I was like, I would feel happy getting a win out of that. Well, now they're 2-0, and they're about to play Oregon again on Saturday. So an opportunity to go 3-0 on that stretch, and they get Washington to round out the month of February. I think you're pretty pleased with what they've put together in this month of February. Obviously, they got 2 games to go, but can't ask for a bigger win on Saturday, and then they back it up with 21-point drubbing against a team that they haven't gotten a win against in almost over 5 years now. It was an incredible win tonight at the Kohl Center.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. 94 points on Saturday, 95 points tonight. This Wisconsin offense is really clicking on all cylinders right now. It's one of the best offenses in college basketball. You've got 2 guards in Tonje and Blackwell who can really, it feels like, get to the basket at will. What do you think works so well with those two playing together?
Well, John Tonje, I think particularly, I was just talking about this. You talk about John Tonje, and you go back and look at what people were saying about Wisconsin in the preseason. I don't think very many people were talking about John Tonje. They kind of was an afterthought, like, okay, maybe a reclamation project after a year of injuries and not great performances in his sparingly played at Mizzou. Kind of hoping to get him back along to his form that he had at Colorado State. I thought he was going to be good for this team. I didn't think he was going to be this good. And this has been absurd. I think every time you watch John Tonje play, particularly since the start of the new year, I think he's really had to adapt his style of play. Tonight, particularly, he had to get to the line early. He didn't have like a field goal attempt until like his first 3 trips to the line officially. And then after that, it was just step back 3, reverse. I mean, anything you can ask from John Tonje, he's able to pull it out of his bag. I don't know what it is. And then John Blackwell, I mean, not necessarily his best shooting night to start. He kind of turned on towards the end of the game, but he got things done defensively for you. John Tonje got things done defensively. I think he ended up with 4 steals in the game. And then the playmaking between those two, particularly John Blackwell at the point, incredible. I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about this, but Steven Crowell tonight, a huge response after the last time he played this Illinois team. He had no rebounds against Illinois the last time out in Champaign. This time out, 27-5 for the big man, 7-10 from the field, and 3 of 3 from deep. I think we'll talk about this with Illinois and what they may or may not be going through. I believe them. They're not playing to the level that we've seen them play. It doesn't feel like they're 100% right now, and it's definitely affecting their play. Ivasic didn't start this game, wasn't 100%, but it felt like any time that Crowell had that matchup, he was going to go to work. So that big three, it was again phenomenal tonight, and they were able to get into their rotation as well. This was an all-around performance, start to finish.
Jonathan, this Wisconsin offense, I want to get into it. 95 points today, 94 against Purdue. This is the best Wisconsin offense we've seen since Orion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any qualms about it. The last time that they had an offense this good, they had a Naismith Player of the Year and a 5-star homegrown guy from just up the road in Sheboygan. Perhaps the most talented team they had, and they are blowing those expectations out of the water again this year. You thought last year their offense was taking another stride with guys like AJ Storr and Chucky Hepburn.
And we will talk plenty about AJ Storr
later.
Yeah,
that's I didn't get a chance to see it, but I certainly heard about it. But yeah, that was last year, and you thought it was good. Then you look at this year's team, night and day difference. I actually talked with Kirk Penny, who is one of the new assistants over the last 2 years, who's been the big impact that people have been talking about the changes on offense, the more Olympic style of play, the FIBA European style of play. And I think you kind of got that vibe from them, but they've taken it to another level on top of their defensive culture that metrically not to the level that they had been under Bo Ryan, obviously, but the fact that you're able to couple that, a top 40 defensive unit with a top 10 offense, I think it's a perfect marriage, and we're seeing that bear fruit right now.
Jonathan,
I think Wisconsin's offense is just so good because they make you pay, but at the same time, they don't really make mistakes. They don't turn it over a ton. They make shots. They're really good at the free throw line, the best free throw percentage team in the country. And that is how you not only, build an elite offense, but you win close games that way as well, by not making mistakes, making teams pay at the free throw line.
See, the funny part is I hate to interrupt about the free throw thing. It feels like, for me, having watching this team over the last 5-6 games, it feels like when they go, John Tonje had a couple trips to the line tonight where he went 1 of 2. He's like, oh, you got to be kicking yourself. Just that one missed free throw. Watch this team 3 years ago. You were begging this team to make their free throws. Now it's like if you just go 1 of 2, it's a disappointment. It's that's how
is a 91% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just think the other thing is the way that Greg Gard has structured this team has made it really easy for Tonje to be at his best, and the same goes for Blackwell. This is something I mentioned last Saturday on the pod, but having bigs like Steven Crowell and Nolan Winter that you have to guard on the perimeter opens up a ton of driving lanes, and it makes it that much easier for Tonje and Blackwell to get to the basket and get to their spots, as well as, they have good 3-point shooters on this team, Kamari McGee being one of them.
Yeah, I mean, John Tonje is going to be an All-American. I think tonight just kind of secured that to the national to a national audience once again. It was going to happen regardless. He's going to push for a first-team All-American nomination, honestly. He's probably among the favorites, if not the favorite, for Big Ten Player of the Year, especially if Wisconsin ends up winning the regular season title, which they are just a game and a half back right now of Michigan. So they're right in the conversation. They're the highest KenPom team in the conference. If Wisconsin can end up winning the regular season title, I think Tonje ends up winning Big Ten Player of the Year.
I think you come back to, you played Michigan in the opening night of Big Ten basketball, and that's a game you had a lead in for a majority, and then the 2-man game of Wolf and Golden beats you down the stretch. I think that's when you kind of come back to and kick yourself over. But outside of that, I don't, even a loss there, I think you're all right with. You can live with losses at UCLA, at Maryland. You can live with losses at Marquette in Illinois. You can live with a home loss against Michigan. Everything else I've been incredibly pleased with, and especially these last 2 games. A a win at Mackey, which some of the best Wisconsin teams haven't won at Mackey, and then exercising the demon that is beating Brad Underwood's Illinois team. I can't, you can't be more happy with how this team's been performing as of late.
Jonathan, anything more to add on Illinois? Anything to add on the Illinois side of this?
Yeah, I'll real quick mention one more thing about Wisconsin. I wrote the Rise and Shine this morning, obviously, on the Big Ten title race, which has been super fun this year. And it really seems like there's 4 teams left, maybe now 3 after Purdue lost tonight, but we'll see. I think the thing that Wisconsin has going for them in this race is their remaining schedule. You know, Purdue, Michigan State, and Michigan's remaining schedule is incredibly hard. Like, they all have to play each other, and they have to play other good teams. Wisconsin is really done with all of the top teams outside of that road game at Michigan State. You know, you have home games against 2 West Coast teams. One of them isn't a tournament team in Washington. The other one is Oregon, who's been struggling down the stretch here. And then you have to go to Minnesota, rivalry game. I get it won't be super easy. And then Penn State at home, who's struggled of late. So despite
that's putting it lightly, they've quit with a capital Q.
Yeah, despite the fact that, you know, Wisconsin was down 2 games to Michigan entering tonight, I think their fighting chance, and I should say, doesn't have the tiebreaker with Michigan for the 1 seed. Their fighting chance is really, they're playing better basketball than anyone else in the conference right now. And that includes Michigan, who leads the conference. And their schedule is the easiest of the teams that still have a shot.
Yeah, same thing. It's kind of just, you come back to that Michigan game, that tiebreaker, it's going to be a little, if you can get a share, I think that's what I said. If you get a share of this title, I think I'd be over the moon excited.
I think they got a share 3 years ago, and like they celebrated like it was the greatest thing that ever happened.
Hey, they hit the bank shot to win the game against Purdue. Yeah. And
so
then
the thing is, though, and I wrote,
you're not even going to mention his name.
I mentioned it before, you know. We'll revisit that at the 10-year anniversary.
The other thing I mentioned,
I think that was, honestly, it's mutually beneficial at this point.
Oh, I'll say,
better. Wisconsin's better without him, not because of it.
Yeah, like I'm incredibly happy for Chucky. I'm incredibly happy for Chucky. I think
Chucky's first team All ACC.
He's tearing it up at Louisville, and he's been a big part of that turnaround there. I'm incredibly happy that he's been able to do that, and then we've been able to Wisconsin's been able to figure things out here as well. And a guy we mentioned before who left the team last year from last year, maybe not as mutually beneficial. Yeah.
Sam, you mentioned though how like Wisconsin 3 years ago celebrated like that when they won the Big Ten regular season title, and obviously it ended up being a share. But I wrote in the article this morning that, you know, even if Wisconsin doesn't get that share or doesn't get the 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament, I think this team probably realizes, and Greg Gard specifically realizes, that, you know, they have bigger aspirations than just a conference title. Because,
yeah, for sure.
This team is playing for a lot more than what that Johnny Davis team was playing for.
This team, despite how good college basketball is this year, can get to a Final Four.
No doubt.
For me,
they're part of how good college basketball is.
For me,
their KenPom rating is plus 27.75. Yeah. That's really good.
For me, it's get to the second weekend first, and then we can figure anything else out. But I think you gotta get rid of the narrative that Greg Gard can't get to the second weekend. He hasn't done it since having Bo Ryan's team against Villanova, and then. I think that's the first thing, but I totally agree. I think that this is a team that 100% can set their sights further than just a conference regular season title. This is a team that can play in a tournament style, I believe. I think that their depth will lead them to that. Again, we talked about that Johnny Davis team. Injuries set them back. You get less than 100% Johnny Davis, who gets hurt in that last regular season game. Chucky Hepburn goes down in that Iowa State game in Milwaukee. I think this team's better built to withstand that. If it does come down to that, they've got depth. They've got depth behind their depth. We saw it Kamari McGee go out in that Purdue game, and Jack Janicki comes in and hits 3 threes in that game. Like they can run 10 men deep and feel confident about it, feels like.
Sam, I know, it's a tough hill to climb here with how good some of these top teams are, but is Wisconsin like out of the 1 seed race?
I think
it
so.
feels like the margin for error is thin, but 6
Like
quad one,
they would have to win the Big Ten title.
yeah,
And then,
six quad one wins, and even then, like the Big Ten, like the committee has shown before, I think that Big Ten title game, with how close it is to the bracket reveal, like it doesn't often mean.
yeah, but like they would have to win it.
Yeah.
And like someone, probably Houston or not, Houston's on the 2 line. Like Alabama, like is metrically the worst.
You got to have the SEC of a meltdown down the stretch, or at least
Yeah.
those top SEC teams.
And then Alabama would have to lose to like South Carolina.
And Florida is just completely humming.
Like Alabama doesn't have any bad games left, but they could like lose 3 in a row at the end because they have Tennessee, Florida, Auburn. They also have to go to Mizzou Arena tomorrow. Jonathan, man, how much do you wish you would be going to that game?
Oh, dude, I'm going back to school to get some stuff on Thursday, and I really wish I could go up tomorrow, but
you should.
I can't. I'm working, unfortunately, but it is what it is. I'll watch it from home. I'm very, very excited for it.
All right, the Illinois angle quickly.
Yeah,
Jonathan, you've been pretty vocal about your thoughts on Mr. Underwood's team. Yeah. I mean, tonight just kind of goes further to that. They're banged up. Tomas Slavicevic didn't look like himself. Merez Johnson was out. And by the way, Merez Johnson is a big loss. That's a guy who's been playing big minutes for them and playing really well. He had 17 and 5 this weekend. He had 14 and 15 in a win against Ohio State. He had 15 and 9 against Northwestern. He's been really good for them throughout the year, and he's going to be out for a little bit now. Jonathan, where are you on, like, could you kind of clarify where you are on Illinois?
Yeah, my stance has remained unchanged now for pretty much a month and a half. Like, a lot of media was singing the praises for this Illinois team's upside, and health has played a factor in them not playing very well here over the last month. But I think it's more than that. I think when I watch this team, they don't look well put together right now. They don't look like they have a lot of energy, and I think they take some bad shots. Obviously you mentioned the Merez Johnson injury. They haven't really gotten what they wanted out of Ben Hummerkaus this year. It's just I never really saw what other people were saying about this Illinois team.
In a way, I feel this Illinois team has comparisons to last year's Kentucky team.
Yeah, like I thought they could make
that weekend. Like you saw early in the season, in some big performances, like, okay, this team can be really good if a couple things go right. And like that win at home against Wisconsin, that win against Arkansas was super impressive. The Tennessee game where like,
yeah, I'd argue that was probably the most impressive part of that early stretch.
Where that was an absolute battle. And you could see, like, all right, they're not there yet, but like this team has the talent to get it done. And they've just stagnated. They're the same team that they were in November as the rest of the country has gotten better. And that was the Kentucky problem last year. That's the Illinois problem this year. And I'm very excited to pick this team to most likely go out in the first weekend.
I think the thing metrically with Illinois is they win by winning on the glass. They will take as many shots as they want, and they will beat you on the glass. What was the final tally tonight? They closed it at the end, but for the most part of this game, Wisconsin was winning on Yeah, 39-30 on the glass. They were winning on the glass for most by double figures for most of the game.
I mean, yeah, we got
Yeah.
Chris Hodges minutes in this game.
Yeah. So like the team without Ivasic and without Merez Johnson and having to play even Jake Davis not being 100% and I only played 8 minutes. That's gonna hurt them. They win with their size inside, and they've lost that now. That was the way to win for them, and they've kind of lost that by the wayside. You have to be efficient from deep. You can't turn the ball over. Kaspers Yakashonis just turned the ball over way too much tonight, and they kind of just lost the one thing that helped them was winning on the glass. And I think they you see that the X factor and the glue that holds this team together is Tomislav Ivasic, and he's not healthy. He wasn't healthy during their losing stretch earlier this season, and he's not healthy now. And that's obviously a big crush to this Illinois team. I kind of said the same thing. I wasn't sure if this team was built for the long run. I liked the upside, but it was like, okay, is there really out any meaningful Big Ten experience when they're in the thick of it and they have some adversity? Are they going to be able to overcome it? I thought they were too young and I thought they were too inexperienced. I didn't think they were deep enough at where they needed to be, and we're seeing that come true right now. Again, I don't think that's by, I don't know. That's just kind of, you saw the writing on the wall with this team, and you saw it in that stretch earlier when they lose to Michigan State without Ivasic and Yakashonis playing 9 minutes because he was in foul trouble. Who's going to be able to step up for them? And no one really has. I thought Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn was great tonight. I thought Trey White, he kind of took a step back. I thought Kylan Boswell he didn't step up. He refused to shoot. This team just, they faltered. There's no other way to say it.
All right. Thank you, Joey, for coming on. We got some other stuff to talk about.
For sure.
But we really appreciate you coming.
Hey, appreciate you having me on, Sam.
All right. See you.
Cool.
Jonathan.
I'm glad we're giving Wisconsin their props. This team really does feel different than previous Greg Gard.
Yeah, like of all the this feels different teams in the country this year,
yeah,
Wisconsin.
That should be a metric. Along with they've been asked lately, of course.
Hey! Wisconsin went from they've been asked lately last year to this feels different this year.
They were number one. They were number one in last year in that metric, and now they're number one in this feels different metric.
Who else is high in this feels different? You know who's high and they've been asked lately?
I'd say Auburn.
Who's asked and they've been asked? Who's high and they've been asked lately? Gonzaga.
Yeah. I'd say Auburn is high on the.
I would say Clemson is this feels different, but they made the Elite Eight last year.
I'd say Maryland is high on the this feels different metric.
You know who's high on the they've been asked lately?
Kansas.
UConn. I know they came back to win tonight, but they needed everything they had to sneak past Villanova at home.
Yeah. It's
all right, Jonathan. You know who's really been asked lately?
Kansas.
The Kansas Jayhawks.
Mm-hmm. Now 7 spots below the Missouri Tigers and Ken Pom. How about that?
And Missouri stormed the court after beating them, to think.
Mizzou would be favored on a neutral court right now.
Mizzou would be like a 1-point dog at Allen Field. Actually, no, it's Allen Field. The Allen Fieldhouse is like a 6-point swing.
Yeah, it's a different breed.
Allen Fieldhouse is the best home court in college basketball because it has hidden Kansas is just absolute disgustingness in every other game against a decent team. They lose 91-57 against BYU tonight at the Marriott Center. The Cougars led from start to finish. Kansas did not lead. They led by as much as 38.
Yeah.
This game, obviously, we both agree says more about Kansas than it does about BYU, right?
Yeah, but I also don't think it says like nothing about BYU.
Yeah, no, we'll get into that. That was actually what I was going to ask. What do you think this game does say about BYU?
I think it says that BYU has really kind of figured out who they are, and they've gotten healthy. More importantly, in the last month or so, I think, you know, BYU tonight in this game, massively out rebounds Kansas. We know they're a good rebounding team. Like they know who, like they hit threes. Trevin Nell hits 4 threes. Richie Saunders hits 4 threes. Dallin Hall hits 2. I think this is like kind of what BYU is, what they showed tonight. They're going to rebound. They're going to like inside. They're going to be tough, but at the same time, they have guys that can stretch the floor. They had 24 assists tonight. Hall had 8 of them. Diamond had 5, and Saunders had 3. So like, I think just all in all, this shows that this is a BYU team that is rounding into what you and I kind of thought they were going to be.
Yeah, and they got a big one on Saturday against Arizona.
Yeah, they're going not 9 deep now with Boskovic, Stewart, Baker, all getting in there and doing their share.
Yeah,
off
14
the bench, and their starting 5 is really good.
21st.
Or sorry, it's actually 10 deep, not 9.
I mean, Catching's barely even played tonight.
Yeah, Catching's barely played. Elijah Crawford, who I thought had a chance to make like an impact for this team, doesn't really play. This is a really well put together team that everyone kind of knows their role now.
Now let's talk about the Jayhawks, and nobody knows their role.
I have never seen a team lose a game so badly before the game even started.
Explain.
Flory, KJ, and Hunter together? Like, were you asking to go down like 10-2 to start the game? Your starting lineup consisted of 3 bigs and 4 guys that couldn't shoot. Like, I get that you're not like you're kind of looking for answers here, but
that ain't it.
It would have made much more sense to like, hey, let's sit Hunter down and try this KJ Flory lineup. Especially like against BYU, a team that like is tough inside, kind of counter them with some athleticism. But
yeah, did you see Christian Brown tweeted a lineup without Hunter in it?
Did he really?
Yes. He tweeted Juan Rai Zeke KJ Flory. Just like 5 words.
He's right. I don't ever want to like give up on Bill Self in a certain season, but like, and this may come back to bite me. It could, because it's Bill
Look,
Self.
I'm not giving up on Bill Self because the last time I did that, they won the national championship.
At what point does Bill Self say the same thing that he said last season? That he's looking forward to next season.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's not looking forward to next season and he's looking forward to Cabo.
Like, it feels like a weird time to retire getting your best guard recruiting wise ever coming in. Right?
I guess. He doesn't.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't
have a ready-made assistant to take the.
I don't know if this is like the way that Bill Self wants to go out. If it is, it's a very disappointing way to go out.
I mean, look, who knows? But this Kansas team now 8-7 in the Big 12. They won the Big 12 regular season every single year for like what 15 years.
Yeah, I mean 2019 was when the streak ended. It was like I think it was like 13 or 12 years.
And they won every single year. They are 8-7 in the Big 12 right now. 22nd in Ken Palm. They were 10-8 in the Big 12 last year. Like, this is not the same program that it was even 2 years ago. Even they're trending towards a second straight season outside the KenPom top 20. They had one season outside the they had 2 seasons outside the KenPom top 20 in the KenPom era before last year.
19 was one of them, right? Or sorry, 21 was one of them.
21 was their worst year.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one of the Roy years.
Yeah, and even the 21 year was massively hated by a blowout loss in the tournament.
What were they before that?
I don't know, actually.
18.
Yeah. So there you go. Like
last year they got blown out by Gonzaga.
Last year you had like the excuse of oh, hey, like McCullough, who's quite easily our most important player, is hurt, and we are nothing without him. Like this year they don't have that. They're just not good.
I don't really have much more to say about KU.
We talk about them plenty on this show.
I thought I watched a lot of the Florida game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They're really freaking good. Like, well, Walter Clayton made some crazy shots. He had 18 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and it just felt like he was unstoppable. Will Richard was great. Thomas Howe was great. Shinyelu, Elijah Martin, Urban Klavzar had a big game as well. Hit a big shot to end the first half. Like they had Micah back, and I feel like I didn't really notice much of Micah.
I don't think you're going to for the next couple weeks.
I don't know how much of him you're going to notice.
I think the hope is that you start noticing him by like the time the SEC tournament is getting going.
And from the Oklahoma perspective, man, they are in total free fall, 3-10 in the SEC. They've lost 5 in a row.
This team's just going to have like too many losses.
They're not going to like they're trending towards not making the NCAA tournament.
You can't go 5-13 in the league and make the tournament, right? And I guess like a 14th loss would come in the conference tournament. So like even with like the incredible non-con where they genuinely had good wins, you know, you beat Michigan,
Arizona, Louisville, Michigan. Those 3 really aged well.
Yeah, but at the same time, like they've lost now 5 in a row, 6 of 7. You have Mississippi State, who's playing well, coming up this Saturday. You still have to
they got to beat Kentucky at home.
You still have to go to Oxford. You still have to go to Austin. You have Mizzou coming to you, who's playing super well.
This is the I was texting with T3 earlier today, and I just kind of said, like, the reason why the bubble is so bad this year is because the top of the sport is so good, and there's fewer wins to go around for these bubble teams.
Yeah.
And the fact that everyone's in super conferences makes it so everybody's just losing to the top teams in their conference. And the SEC is a huge example of that, where you have 4-9, 5-7, 4-8, and 3-10 right on the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, Jeremiah Fears is really young, and he's not supposed to be in college yet.
It's not that he hit a freshman wall. He hit one early in league play, and he had a good game tonight. It's just that, like, hey, they need more.
It's tough to be 17 years old and be the 27th most relied upon player in the country, which is what he is right now.
Kind of whip around to some other stuff. Anything else you want to get into tonight before we go?
Michigan State, another nice win.
Oh, I was super impressed by Michigan State's energy tonight. I thought they were, I thought they came out and just played much harder than Purdue.
Yeah, I tweeted this. They had 8 players score 7 points.
Yeah, nobody scored more than 12. They didn't need to make outside shots because Purdue cannot protect the rim whatsoever, and that's gonna be a problem, by the way. Any team with athletic penetrating guards is going to be able to really do damage against Purdue in the NCAA tournament. Like, this is also just kind of a nightmare matchup for Purdue because it's a team that is totally fine saying we will not shoot a 3 on any possession and we will still score on said possession. But the fact of the matter is If you're giving up the easiest shots in basketball as often as Purdue is, that's a problem.
Michigan State 3-1 since Jace Richardson entered the starting lineup. The only
Jace
loss,
Richardson
obviously,
is the team's most
Huh?
impactful player.
What'd you say?
Jace Richardson is the most impactful player on this team.
Yeah, they're 3-1 since he entered the starting lineup. The only loss is obviously that horrid Indiana loss last week. But
Where
since he's entered
Tom
the starting
Izzo was
lineup,
tricked by the zone.
since what?
Tom Izzo got tricked by the zone.
Yeah, he did. Maybe that's the Mike Woodson answer. But yeah,
Mike Woodson's
Richardson
biggest
goes
win of
for
the year.
29 against Oregon. He had 11 against Illinois, 12 against Purdue. He's a difference maker.
Huge difference maker as a true freshman. Anything else from tonight you want to talk about?
Mississippi State.
Oh, that game.
I
was
want to hear
disgusting.
I want you to air out your A&M thoughts.
This can happen in any. Something like this can happen in any
Do you
game.
think it can happen in any game though?
I do.
Because Miss State is not a superb defensive rebounding team.
They're 33rd in defense. They're a good defense, but you're gonna run into good defenses in the NCAA tournament. Texas A&M doesn't make shots. We've been through this. If anybody kind of gets to them on the glass, then Texas A&M, and it's not even like Texas A&M didn't have a good game on the glass. They had 11 offensive rebounds. It's just they need 16 to win. And that's a problem. 19 turnovers again. I think their guards over dribble, especially Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps. They can over dribble. I think they just don't really run any sort of reliable offense. They don't have good quick hitters that can get them easy points. I don't think there's a recipe for them to get an easy basket very often. And I think that in any sort of game, if you're not as dominant on the glass and protecting the ball, and Texas A&M is not good at protecting the ball. They had a 27% offensive rebounding rate tonight. That's not going to cut it. That's something that'll rank you in the 230s nationally. They need a 35% offensive rebounding rate to win these games, and they can do that. Their offensive rebounding rate is number 1 in the country. It's 42. But I just think that something like this, it doesn't take a village for this to happen in any given game.
Yeah, I think this is, you're not wrong at all. And that's part of the reason I think this team probably has a lower ceiling than you would typically expect out of a team with a 2 seed. But, I still think that Buzz Williams is a good coach. I still think this is a good basketball team. Tonight was definitely more of an abnormality. And you mentioned the offensive rebounding. And then you can also mention that, you're not going to win many games against anyone good, shooting 37% from 2.
19 turnovers.
Mm-hmm. My Wade Taylor theory was looking good for a while in this game, and then Miss State kind of blew it open. My Wade Taylor theory for those of you that don't know, which you guys probably don't know because I just came up with this a couple days ago. Wade Taylor it doesn't matter how good or bad he plays. A&M will, every A&M game is pretty much the exact same. Wade Taylor is not. He's obviously probably the most dynamic player on this team and the best scorer on this team. Maybe not anymore with Zurich Phelps there, but Wade Taylor went. I don't even remember what it was in the second round last year, but he shot the ball extremely terribly and a lot, and Texas A&M still almost won. So the entire theory is based around that. Hey, Wade Taylor can take as many shots as he wants, and whether he makes or misses them, Texas A&M can be in any game.
Anything else?
Let me look through here.
I would like to give a couple mid-major shout-outs quickly.
Texas
Boston
Tech
College
lost
got a
Tuesday.
big win against Virginia Tech.
That was the greatest basketball game of the year, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
Yeah. The actual mid-major shout-outs I would like to give North Florida. They are, I think, alone in first place in the A. No, wait, sorry, not North Florida. North Alabama. I clicked on the wrong team. Yeah, North Alabama.
We're done with that North Florida BS.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lipscomb lost tonight.
Yeah, so that puts North Alabama, who beat West Georgia 80-6. Not that West Georgia's any good; they're 3-12. But good performance by Jakari Lane, Daniel Ortiz, Cornelius Williams, Tony Puyol is doing an awesome job there. We'll talk more about the A-Sun on Thursday with Nick.
Yeah, it's going to be such a fun tournament to follow. We mentioned this last week, but it's going to be great.
Yeah,
and they start on Sunday this year.
Yeah, but it's the crap teams to play on Sunday.
I don't care, dude. Those first A-Sun games in the conference
tournament. Oh, they're aura. They're crazy.
They're like, hey, like let's lock in here. That's like the moment where it's like, we're here.
Yeah, Lipscomb fell to Eastern Kentucky. Most exciting 40 minutes in sports. EKU 8 wins in a row with Devontae Blanton, and they won this game, by the way, without George Kimball, who I believe is one of their two leading. He's either their leading scorer or their second leading scorer. He is. Is he their leading scorer?
I think he was their leading scorer.
Because I don't know. Does Blanton lead them?
I'm looking.
Blanton has been the catalyst for this most recent stretch. He had 22, 12, and 4 tonight. He had 23 and 10 assists.
Yeah, Kimball's been their leading scorer
against Queens. Kimball's leading them.
Kimball's been their leading scorer this
year. How far back is Blanton?
He's like a point and a half, I think.
Yeah, so it's what, like 18 and 16 and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed with A.W. Hamilton's team right now in the A-Sun. Not a ton of mid-major ball on Tuesday nights. But
the single A MAC had quite the night.
Yeah, I didn't really see what happened.
I was just kind of like, I wasn't watching the game, so I was kind of checking out the score. Eastern Michigan basically led by double digits from start to finish against Miami, Ohio, which was shocking. Jalen Terry had like
back-to-back losses to directional Michigan schools for Akron. Sorry, for Miami, Ohio, not for Akron.
Akron, won at home against Northern Illinois. Kent State, Jalen Sullinger had 32 tonight for Kent State against Bowling Green. And then the other, one that I was texting you about was Western Michigan by 33 over Buffalo. And the reason I texted you about that was to ask if Nate Oates was basically remote coaching Buffalo, would they be in a better spot than they are right now?
I don't want to go too hard on George Halkovich right now.
He inherited he inherited the program in a tough spot and
he made it tougher.
But yeah, they are not good.
Just some quick preview stuff for tomorrow. Any games catch your eye?
Well, the one in Columbia, Missouri kind of catches my eye a little bit.
The one that catches my eye, Jonathan.
New Mexico at Boise.
Northern Iowa at Belmont. The Bruins are looking to win 19 games for the 20th consecutive season.
It's an important one in the Missouri Valley Conference race, too.
Yes, Belmont is 18-9. They are 10-6 in the Missouri Valley. They have 4 games left, and I think all of them are winnable. And that starts tomorrow night against Northern Iowa and Ben Jacobson, who, surprise, surprise, are playing really good basketball late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's late. It's mid-February. It's 2 weeks away from It's 2 weeks. God, it's 2 weeks away from Arch Madness. We're 2 weeks away from Arch Madness, Jonathan, and Northern Iowa's hot.
Surprise. Northern Iowa to end the season plays Belmont on the road, Drake at home, UIC at home, Bradley on the road. They are in position to potentially win the league.
But they got to win those games.
They have to win the games. But, they've won 5 in a row here. They beat Bradley at home by 14 at the beginning of the month. Obviously, got smoked by Drake the week of that game as well. But like, this is kind of what Northern Iowa did in 2022, I think it was, where they just like won a bunch of games at the end of the season, and then they beat Loyola Chicago in overtime to kind of steal the conference. That conference race was really close at the end.
There were 4 teams, right?
Yeah, it was Northern Iowa, Missouri State, Drake, and Loyola.
Yeah, that was the Isaiah Mosley Missouri State team.
Yes, it was. And Tucker was a freshman at Drake.
Jamonta Black. Oh my God.
Yeah, that Missouri State team was fun.
Usai Patterson, Gage Prim, Donovan Clay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jonathan, you want to take us home?
If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he works, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about Nate Oates' remote coaching, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about Caleb Grill and the latest happenings with him, you came to the right place.
Latest happenings, big one tomorrow night.
Big one. Big one. This has been Season 5, Episode 65 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers, and we'll see you next time.